Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, Dynasty. I am your host, Heath Cummings, joined today once again by our good friend Adam Pfeiffer. And we are going to talk today about the biggest risers and fallers since August. I think this is an important topic at the halfway point of the season because what people want to know, and especially in Dynasty, are these trends going to continue? Can I sell or buy these players now? I know they've risen and fallen, but is the rise and the fall stopped? So we'll get through all that. But first, AP, thank you for being here once again. These people should know. They've heard you enough. But tell everybody where they can find your work, what you've been working on, what you got going on.
Yeah, always a highlight to come on FFT Dynasty with you. Yeah, ftnfantasy.com. I am still doing a ton of film watching, data analysis. It's something I've really started to really love, and it does help me in fantasy. I'm seeing, box scores. Obviously, you shouldn't just watch the box scores, but you should also, if you really are as sick as we are into this, finding myself watching film as much as I have been since really last year, but especially this year. It's made me more wise about football, but also it helps to see why this player didn't play well, why this player did play well. So I've been doing a lot of that, and I've loved it, and still doing a bunch of analysis, trying to tweet out more stuff that I find interesting. And sometimes I just forget that you can tweet stuff. And so starting to do that more, but a lot of film stuff on the games. I have to watch the 2 games from last night once we get off this, and I do not want to watch really either offensive line from the late game yesterday, but especially Houston's. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I hope I'm the only person that's hearing this that went to bed last night thinking this game's over.
Yeah.
I won my fantasy match and then lost on a CJ Stroud garbage time touchdown to Woody Marks. Hope that didn't happen to you guys too. Some of you probably went to bed before the game, and honestly, you didn't miss much. So I had this list of my risers and fallers and realized there were more risers than fallers. I guess I'm feeling more optimistic today. So for our 3 questions for our guest, I thought let's just start with 3 of the big risers. And I want to frame this first question right because it's a sensitive issue. We were just talking before the show. I'm a Chiefs fan. Adam's a Bills fan. So CBS leagues are 6 points per pass touchdown. Is it possible to make a case that after just a couple of weeks of looking like Patrick Mahomes again, Patrick Mahomes is once again the number 1 quarterback in Dynasty?
Not possible. He's already done enough. Next question. He doesn't deserve any more praise. No, how long did the Chiefs not have a run game? It's kind of showing signs of life the past 2 weeks, but I mean, I'm watching that game and I'm triple checking to make sure I'm not facing him in any leagues, because if that game was even remotely close, he might have had 40 fantasy points.
Right.
He had like 203 at halftime, pretty much. Yeah, he's been amazing. The rushing has obviously been prior to last week, and now he gets Rashee Rice back, who 19 routes, he had 10 targets and like 4 end zone targets. It was insane. But we know the rushing has been insane this season because they can't run the ball between the tackles with the running backs, the scramble rate. I think a lot of it has to do too with the combination of Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco have not been very good, and 3 plays into the season, Xavier Worthy, who's supposed to give you all the kind of easy button scheme stuff, and then of course some over the top stuff, gets taken out by Travis Kelce. Then they have nobody that can really separate consistently, especially at this stage of Travis Kelce's career. So I think the rushing is going to continue to be good, not to the point where it was the first 6 weeks of the season, but that's going to keep him to having chances of kind of matching the insane games we're going to see from Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I still would lean towards a little bit of the youth with, I don't know, like, would you how long does it take till we put somebody like Drake May up there, right? We'll talk about him shortly too. I don't think it's like outlandish. I still wouldn't go there just yet, but this rushing has changed everything right now. And he's always been able to kind of, rush for 40 plus yards in certain games. But really last year too, it's as simple as nobody's been able to get open consistently. So Mahomes is saying, okay, I'm one of the best at escaping sacks we've ever seen. And then all of a sudden teams are playing too high shell. There's nobody really, you have to spy him at this point now. There's just nobody that's been spying him. So I'm not quite there, but it's hard to really fault somebody for saying that after what we've seen to start the season.
Here, the last month, so basically since Xavier Worthy came back. Now, obviously, if you were just looking at last week over 3 quarters, the numbers are probably even better. But since Xavier Worthy came back, the 17-game pace for Patrick Mahomes, 4,800 passing yards, 47 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 531 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns.
That's insane.
It's so dumb. And the thing is, like, Lamar is a year younger than Mahomes. Allen and Mahomes basically the same age.
Yep.
And I think what you said about Drake May, and I had Jaden Daniels ahead of these guys earlier, and maybe he'll get his receivers back and be able to stay healthy, but him staying healthy was one of the big concerns.
Yeah.
It's at the very least, QB1 in Dynasty is pretty debatable right now. And
yeah, because like even me, the Josh Allen fan of all fans, like the age, it's not like there's an age gap between those two.
Well, and like we had no.
The only thing is like Mahomes is not getting. He'll get like those like RPO kind of keep it from inside the 5. Josh is getting the push
ram
sneaks, everything that's actually truly set for him. So that can be, especially if Mahomes is going to continue to rush like this, that can be the separating factor. And Josh is obviously going to have some huge passing games. I hope. I don't know.
Well, I think what probably the path to Allen, and maybe it happens this year. Maybe the defense just isn't good.
Same with Lamar too. Like those defenses are so bad right now. Like awful.
I think for Josh Allen, the potential that he could have a new head coach next year, which could mean a new offensive coordinator, maybe a different philosophy within the team that we should give our superstar quarterback good weapons and let him throw the ball 35 times a game. But let's get on to number 2. And this one I think is an easier case.
Thank you for moving on, by the way. I appreciate that.
Can you make a case for JSN as wide receiver 1 in Dynasty?
It's so tough because there's literally not been a better wide receiver. Not even just, obviously he's been wide receiver 1 in fantasy, but I don't think there's been a better real life wide receiver in the NFL this year through 7 weeks. The problem with making the case for him is the position is just still so loaded at the top.
Right.
Like I struggle to put anybody ahead of Chase personally, just because he's obviously, well, I hope he is. We need him to stay healthy, but he's locked in with Burrow for the next X amount of years, and he's still doing Jamar Chase things with Joe Flacco. Puka's obviously in that discussion, but I don't know, man. Like Puka's hinted towards retiring at 30. Cool. He's got 8 years left, 7 years left, whatever. But Stafford's got 1-2 years left. I don't know. I think you can try to make a selling point. I probably would. I don't want to say I would just completely dismiss it, but I would dismiss it relatively fast, just because the high end is so good with Lamb and Chase, and if Minnesota can get a quarterback that can consistently get Jefferson the ball, I think it's. But I will say, on the theme of rising, I don't know if there's been a wide receiver since the end of his rookie season that's risen as much as JSN has.
Yes. Back in August, and kind of the theme of this show, where did Heath have them ranked? Where are they currently ranked? He was wide receiver 10 for me in August before the season. He is currently wide receiver 2. Would
you be able to guess where you might have had him following his rookie season?
Oh, I don't have to guess. I can turn on the Wayback Machine, and we can go back to August.
Because there was like there's always going to be like crazy concern, especially in Dynasty, where I drafted him with my 102 rookie pick, but there was like legitimate concern about him, and then now he's just an absolute superstar.
So he was down to. You're going to make me look dumb now, probably. But in January,
I don't think it is. I think that's everybody was kind of there.
January of 2024, I had JSN at wide receiver 16.
Yeah. And
so that was right after his rookie year. He actually went down a little bit once I did my projections for the following year, and he was in the 20s. So yeah, but I think and I say he's wide receiver 2 now, Chase is a clear 1.
Yep.
And then it's JSN, Puka, Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and CeeDee Lamb. Any of those guys you could tell me are going to be ranked as wide receiver 2 in a month, and I wouldn't be that surprised or argue. I will just say, like, just to acknowledge how great he has been. 5 of 7 games over 100 yards, averaging 117 yards per game, leads the NFL with 819 receiving yards. And they talked about it a lot on the broadcast last night. He went to Ohio State, arguably wide receiver U. My 16-year-old was kind of giving me pushing back on that a little bit a couple of days ago, saying, "What hasn't LSU?"
has the high end guys,
right?
But the overall depth of Ohio State, and it's not even like it's just like, oh, they're good, like they're star players. So I would agree with Ohio State.
I was just thinking about this. What percentage of my top 10 wide receivers went to Ohio State, LSU? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 7 of my top 12 went to one of those 2 colleges in Dynasty.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a tight end in the top for Dynasty. No, I don't think so. Unless Mason Taylor starts going crazy, but I don't think that's happening.
Mason Taylor's been a big riser. We may talk about him later, but let's talk about tight end. Can you make the case for Tyler Warren as tight end 1 in Dynasty?
Easily.
He is tight end 1 in Dynasty for you?
I haven't done Dynasty rankings, but I'm saying you can easily make that case.
Yeah.
He's been probably the best tight end in the league this year, just based off kind of everything fantasy wise. He's been great.
Not in terms of scoring fantasy points, but just
I just think there's the versatility in which he plays the game and the skill which he's not going to score most likely as many fantasy points as Trey McBride, I don't think. But like, he is so good and is a perfect. I'm just so impressed with the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
They're lining up Tyler Warren in the backfield, like the Denver game. I remember watching this. They line him up in the backfield against man coverage, literally so he could just sneak past linebackers and had like a 30-yard wheel route. Like, you're not seeing tight ends used like that for the most part around the league. So it's a credit to Warren for being versatile in that role. It's a credit to Shane Steichen for putting him in that role, and Daniel Jones for playing great football. Tyler Warren has 31% of the Colts targets inside the 10. That's one of the higher rates in the NFL. It's one of the highest rates among tight ends. Then, of course, he also has like 3 actual carries inside the 10. Pretty sure has a pass attempt inside the 10. He is a Swiss Army knife at tight end, who also happens to be one of the better tight end prospects we've seen over the last decade. I'm not sure where you rank him. There's still some really good players at the top end, and we see the guys that have been dominating for years slowly falling down because of age. Yeah, I think this is the easiest one so far where I can say, yes, you can absolutely make the case.
I've got it right now: Bowers, McBride, Warren. I'm probably going to leave Bowers in that top spot until he gets back for a couple of weeks and we see if he is what I thought he was. Because I feel like I've been cheated this year on Brock Bowers.
Honestly. Yeah, Bowers was. Remember that first game in week 1 where it was like, why is Brock Bowers not on the field? Like, why are they using so many other tight ends? And then he has like minimal routes for him and still had over 100 yards and then gets hurt. Right. And it's like, wow, he probably would have had like 150 yards that game. And then, of course, they rush him back. And when he practiced on Friday, Heath, I was like, please, Pete Carroll, do not play him.
Right.
And thankfully they didn't. But yeah, I think those 3 are the obvious top. And if you had Bowers still, I wouldn't. Maybe I'll sit down and do rankings. And I don't know, the versatility in which Warren's used is so fun, though. I love it.
Let's take our first break. When we get back, we'll talk about the biggest risers and fallers in my rankings since August.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back, and I think this exercise in its nature is set up to kind of make me look bad because these are guys that have moved a lot since the season started, so presumably I was wrong. There's some guys, though I was really high on, and they've still risen a lot, and I'm worried they're getting too high. These first 3 quarterbacks, though, guys that I was definitely too low on, and they are rapidly rising up the rankings. We'll see if I've risen them fast enough. Drake May, Jackson Dart, Daniel Jones. May began the season at QB 10 in my rankings. He's up to QB 6. You mentioned he may be in that QB 1 conversation soon. It seems like the errant throws are being minimized. He's still got a couple per game, but most quarterbacks do. The rushing average came down as I expected, but he's still running a lot. And the fact that he doesn't necessarily have a true number one wide receiver hasn't really hurt him. He just, 1 week it's Kayshon Boutte week, 1 week it's Hunter Henry week, 1 week it's Stephon Diggs week. Is QB6 still too low for May? I have him behind Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Daniels, and Hurts.
I'm dangerously close to having him ahead of Jaden Daniels. And how many Superflex mock draft podcasts have I been on with you, Heath?
Numerous.
I think I've drafted Drake May in all of them ahead of a lot of guys where it was like questionable, like Caleb Williams. That wasn't close for me. It's frustrating as a Bills fan to watch the Patriots be good again, but it's awesome because Drake May's one of the main reasons why. He was probably my favorite player in all of redraft in the offseason to target. And I thought a lot of it was going to be because, yes, he's going to run, but I thought because Alex Van Pelt last year as the OC literally said, we are dialing back the design runs in a lost season. We don't want Drake May taking hits.
Right.
They dialed back the design runs. And I'm thinking, okay, Josh McDaniels going to come over. That's going to go up. They haven't. And yet he's still running for 30 yards a game almost. And his scramble rate's at 11%. Last year was 11.5%. So it's basically the same. The difference is the offense is better, which you would expect. They added Will Campbell. They added obviously all the receivers. They added a running back that doesn't play in the draft, which is fun.
We'll talk about him in the fallers.
Yeah. Drake May, the difference, and you mentioned it a little bit with the off throws that aren't as frequent. He is number one in the NFL right now in passer rating, 6th in passing yards, 1st in completion percentage, 1st in touchdown passes on deep passes this year. He's been very, very good. I think a lot of it is good prospect. They're playing a lot of bad teams, but guess what? Still counts the same. And their schedule's so bad.
They play a lot of bad teams the rest of the year.
Yeah, so I'm all in on Drake May. I have been, and this hot start has made me even more excited where I really think we can consider putting him ahead of Jaden Daniels between the fact that Drake May is also a really good player, was a really good prospect. Now the offense is good.
Right.
We were wondering, okay, are they going to
He has a better offense around him right now than Jaden Daniels.
Exactly.
Does, hopefully not for long.
And the Jaden Daniels concerns with him staying healthy are real. Like,
right.
The one last Sunday was completely fluky, right? He got twisted up, really, really fluky. And for the most part, he does, slide and get out of bounds. But yeah, I have been all in on Drake May. Nothing has changed. I think he has 5 top 12 weeks on the season. He's been amazing. So if you have been really high on Drake May for a while, and the first 7 weeks of the season should make you very, very happy.
Jackson Dart was QB 27 for me before the year. He's up to QB 15, took the job and absolutely ran with it, literally.
Yep.
I'm going to confess something to you, Adam, and nobody's going to hear it because we're just the two of us talking. I still kind of watched the Giants offense with Jackson Dart and don't fully understand how it's working. I feel like I'm somebody like those people.
Like backyard football.
You watch football with them and they don't really watch football and they don't really know what's going on. That's how the Giants offense over the last month
makes me feel. You're telling me 45-yard touchdowns of tight ends that get deflected by the receivers into the open arms for a walk-in touchdown is not sustainable.
That is what I'm telling you. But he is up to QB 15 for me. I did finally move him ahead of Cam Ward. Draft capital be damned.
Yeah, that feels like an easy call, right?
He's ahead of J.J. McCarthy, obviously, at this point. He's still behind Bo Nix for me. Am I still too low on Jackson Dart? Do you buy this like 24 points per game QB, or is he going to regress a little bit?
It's really tough because if you look at the game he had on Sunday, right, it was pretty fortunate because of the touchdowns I mentioned. One was a screen to Cam Scatterbo, who broke a tackle and walked in the end zone. One was a broken coverage, and then the touchdown I talked about where it got deflected, I think it was Wandale, and right into the arms for an open walk-in touchdown. But we love rushing for fantasy. Since week 4, when he took over the job, 14 design rush attempts, easily the most among quarterbacks. He's averaging 44 rushing yards per game, just over 22 fantasy points per game. He's a top 5 quarterback in that stretch. And he's been doing it while playing a half of football with his top wide receiver before he went down. So they've obviously been pretty much the main team I think we've heard about trying to add a receiver before the deadline. That could help a lot. Maybe it'll help this offense feel a little bit less kind of just like you mentioned, just kind of how is it working. But I think his floor for rushing yards each week, I mean, Denver had been limiting quarterbacks rushing for the entire season. They faced a lot of mobile quarterbacks, and Jackson Dart got there on the ground. So it's encouraging. And like he's still a good passer. I just would love to see them add somebody at the deadline to complement Malik next season. But yeah, I think this is right around obviously Cam Ward, McCarthy. He should be over them, like you mentioned, pretty easily. Who do you have just ahead of him?
Bo Nix.
That's tough. I mean, if he didn't have the most crazy 30-plus point fantasy game, maybe we'd be thinking differently about him. I would probably have Jackson Dart.
Dak?
You asked the wrong guy because Dak's probably one of my 5 favorite quarterbacks on the planet. But Dak is so good.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to Daniel Jones, who I've moved up considerably. He's also still QB 22. He's 20, and I don't know, like, we've seen a lot of these over the years. Quarterbacks who were left for dead get to a new situation, and all of a sudden they're awesome. It happened with Baker Mayfield, and it stuck. It happened with Geno Smith for 1 year, and it didn't. I think Sam Darnold, probably it stuck.
Regular season, Darnold's been
pretty
good. And by really good, actually.
Right. Maybe not last night, but yes, Darnold's been pretty good. Daniel Jones still working on a 1-year contract though.
That feels pretty safe that he'll get extended at this point, but
so when you're looking at Daniel Jones, are you buying, like, I've kind of bought into the idea that he's a borderline QB1 rest of season, somewhere in that 9 to 15 range, I would say, on a week-to-week basis. Have you bought into we're getting that for the next 3 to 5 years now?
It's tough to, but then you remember, like, even when he was with the Giants, he was fantasy relevant in pretty bad situations. Like, it was Saquon Barkley and then nothing else for a lot of those starts. I talked about it with Tyler Warren. Like, I love everything about this ecosystem with Shane Steichen. The offensive line's playing well, the RPOs, everything they do to scheme stuff open. He obviously can give you, the rushing. He's got plenty of. I think he's also Jonathan Taylor leads the NFL in carries inside the 5, but Daniel Jones has like 6 or 7 himself. It is tough to just say, okay, this is who he is. All he needed to do was leave the Giants, and if he gets extended, when he gets extended, 3-4 years, he's still going to be quarterback, 10 through 14. I hesitate there, but I don't. It's so tough because even, like, with Darnold and all these guys, like, it wasn't fluky. Like, they were playing really, really good football. It's just, will it be a 1-year kind of wonder thing? I don't know.
You can't rank him ahead of Jared Goff, right?
Just based off security, I don't think so.
You can't rank him ahead of Baker, obviously.
No.
Would you rather have Daniel Jones in Dynasty than Kyler right now?
I mean, can you imagine asking that 3 years ago?
3 months ago.
Yeah, that too. I mean, let me know what the contract looks like for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I've still got him behind Kyler as well. And then I think it's really hard to compare him to a J.J. McCarthy or to a Cam Ward, guys that are so much younger that we just haven't seen.
I want to see McCarthy. It's not going to happen this week, obviously, short week. I want to see him play again because first NFL start, the Monday game that everybody, like the weird game where he had the worst first half we've ever seen. Yeah. And then he played the Falcons, who we thought, okay, he's awful, but that might just be one of the best defenses in the league. So I want to see him play again. Addison's been great since he's come back. I would like to see him. I want to see what McCarthy looks like. But yeah, Daniel Jones, I mean, just outside of Jonathan Taylor, and he can obviously have risen a little bit too, depending on where you had him, just nobody's risen more than the Colts in any semblance of football talk over the past couple months.
Quinshon Judkins, the biggest, high-end riser at the running back position. It's hard to talk about where he was ranked back in August because we didn't know when he was going to play football again. I had him at 22nd at running back still, just because I believed in the upside. Matt Waldman said on this show back in April that he was the second best rusher in this class. And that looks like at least the second best rusher. He's up to RB6 for me. I'll just make this a real simple question. In Dynasty, would you rather have Quinshon Judkins or Omarion Hampton?
So this is the thing with Quinshon. I absolutely loved him coming out of college as well. I watched, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that game back. He is so smooth. Like, he has this jump cut that is just so effortless. And then the game last week, like, that was the lock of the century. He was going to have, a huge game against the gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
So Quinshon's obviously missed week 1, makes his debut in week 2. But right now, he is top 5 in both rushing yards over expected and rushing yards over expected per carry. He is, I think he's already one of the best or better pure rushers of the football. I also think for fantasy, he's probably going to project similar to the guy he's kind of replacing in Chubb.
Yeah.
He's done nothing as a pass catcher the past couple weeks. Didn't need to throw the ball last week. Since that week 2 stretch, he's like 39th among running backs in routes. He is playing like 15% of their third downs, which will limit his upside. You just need Cleveland's defense to be good enough so they can stay in these games and
their
maybe lead some, which they've been awesome. So I do think he projects very similarly to Chubb. And before Hampton went down, we saw him playing like 90% of the snaps and he was starting to catch like 4 to 5 balls a game. So I think Hampton might have, in a PPR setting, maybe a higher ceiling, but that offensive line is just in shambles too.
Right.
But yeah, I think they should be right next to each other because they're doing it in different ways, kind of. But if we can get any sort of small bump in pass work for Quinshon, yeah, it wouldn't be close for me.
I've got one very complicated running back. I think I've got another one after the break, but Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Regardless of how optimistic you're feeling in this moment, one of the huge risers. He's my RB26 right now. He was RB65 back in August. So a huge win if you have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt on your team. At the same time, he's still not like he seems to have stalled a little bit in his backfield takeover. Has one game where he's played more than half the snaps. They don't really trust him very much on passing downs. He's already 24 years old. It seems like this year he had the perfect run. The team trades Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler gets hurt, Jaden Daniels gets hurt, and so there's more rush attempts available because Marcus Mariota is not running quite as much as him. And he's done well with it at times, kind of run into a wall the last 2 weeks against defenses that we didn't think were very good in the Bears and the Cowboys. Is Krosky-Merritt maybe like you should have sold him 2 weeks, but maybe try to sell him right now? Or do you think he still has room to grow and maybe become a top 20 dynasty running back?
So when it comes to these kind of older, I can't even say we've really seen him truly break out yet, but these older, young rookie kind of breakout-ish running backs, I'm always leaning towards the side of use it as an opportunity to sell high.
Yep.
James Robinson after his rookie season. Who was the other one the past couple years? I forget. But for me, it was like very, very obvious he should at least try to. And that's not saying he can't have a couple years, but we've seen these guys get replaced a lot. And I know Bill has been just so impressive. It's why they traded Brian Robinson. But yeah, you mentioned it, like his third down role isn't there. He played more, like his snap share and everything in the 2 weeks ago in that game against the Chargers. Like all of that stuff was great, but Chris Rodriguez was out in that game. And then it's funny because he was healthy scratch to start season. It's just been such a weird kind of up and down season for all these skill position players for Washington because they've been in and out. I think he's obviously a well-deserved player on the rise, but I'd be continuing to entertain offers for him just because we've seen teams do this with 6th, 7th round undrafted running backs who produce for them for the first year, impress, and like he's been one of the better pure rushers as well in terms of efficiency, advanced metrics. But every week in Washington, the coaching staff is kind of talking about he needs to keep working on pass pro, he needs to keep working on assignments, he needs to keep working on route running, all that stuff. And yeah, he's a rookie. He wasn't a pass catcher out of college really, so it's not too surprising. But Stuff like that is where they can see, okay, we don't have draft capital invested in this guy. What if we bring in this guy that can play that role better? And like we've seen Chris Rodriguez and we've seen Jeremy McNichols play roles that they don't feel 100% confident in for Bill. So definitely a riser, but definitely somebody I would entertain trade offers for.
The two wide receivers on my risers list were guys that I was higher on. Jordan Addison for most of his career, and Emeka Egbuka definitely this summer, but not this high. Addison has been phenomenal in his 3 games. Egbuka, again, kind of like Bill, except he's been a lot better, has had the runway just completely cleared for him. And I've got Emeka Egbuka up to wide receiver 11 now in Dynasty. Jordan Addison, wide receiver 15. Is Addison a sell because Jefferson hasn't quite popped yet? I remember the one thing I remember from the preseason, and we haven't even seen these two together yet, or training camp, was that the connection allegedly between JJ McCarthy and Jordan Addison was just out of this world. So if McCarthy comes back, Jefferson and Addison may just have a near split in targets. Is Addison just this good where they're going to have a 1A and 1B with one of the best wide receivers in football? And how high is too high for Egbuka?
Yeah, for the second question, was the scene from Mean Girls, The Limit Does Not Exist. For Egbuka.
Would you take Egbuka over Nico Collins right now in Dynasty?
Oh, man. If you asked me that literally 24 hours ago, I probably would have said no. But at this point, like, does Mike Evans play again? It's really sad to think about, but
right,
that was a scary injury last night. And obviously, they already said he's probably going to miss the rest of the season. I think that's really close now. I would that Houston offense makes me sick. And Collins didn't play well last night, but like
Dan asked in the chat, how do you think Egbuka will be effective if Godwin comes back healthy in the next few weeks? I think he needs that.
Yeah,
it was frustrating watching.
And look at last night's game. He had 12 targets. He caught 4 passes because Mayfield kept airmailing everything. Like he should have had, and he got underthrown on the touchdown.
And
he
had double coverage on a lot of routes.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I think Godwin would actually help.
And they'll hopefully get Jalen McMillan back. Like they have enough guys now to where they can feel good about, even if Godwin's just not himself anymore. Which the second week he came back, he was really bad. Do you still have Collins ahead of him?
I have Nico one spot ahead of Egbuka. That's why I asked.
Yeah, man, that offense, there's no easy buttons. The offensive line's terrible. They can't do play action because they can't protect long enough. And that's where Nico's really good, right? Those play action, in breaking, post type routes. And they just can't do that this year. And then they don't give him the design stuff that the other awesome receivers like Puka, like these other guys get. So that is really close. For Addison, though, yeah, he's been a top 12 wide receiver or a top 24 wide receiver in every week since he's been back. He should have scored last week. They ran an RPO as a perfect design screen where it was like a bubble RPO. Wentz threw it behind him. He could have walked in for a touchdown. His day could have been even better. Again, it's up in the air. I think Wentz is good enough if he keeps playing to where he can support both these guys. I don't know what we're going to get from McCarthy. That's kind of the only thing that's holding me back. But if McCarthy's like just be like a little step below what Darnold was last year, and we're in business. Right. By the way, we really wish they kept Darnold.
2 tight ends on the risers list. Harold Fannin, I talk about him enough for everybody.
Yeah, of course
the one thing I want to say about Harold Fannin is I caught a little flack for ranking him too high last week.
No,
the Browns didn't throw any passes.
His playing time and routes and metrics were all great. They just didn't throw.
He had 5 targets on 18 passes.
Yeah.
I'm going to rank him that high again if David Njoku's out.
100%.
But Aronde Gadsden actually had a huge game, 2 really encouraging usage games in a row. I have in my tight end rankings, Fannin is tight end 6, Gadsden is tight end 13. Only hesitation I have with Gadsden is the huge game came in a 50 pass game from Justin Herbert, and Quentin Johnston was behind him in targets. They have 3 very good wide receivers. Is he just a really big sell this week?
This is tough because I liked him as a prospect. I'm Syracuse. I was born around Syracuse. So I'm a Syracuse guy. It's so tough to I think he's a good player, and I think he's given them something they haven't had at the 10 position in a long time. But in the games they only throw 29 to 33 times, and you're competing for targets with Ladd, Keenan, and QJ. I mean, how many times do we see him have 3 targets the rest of the season, do you think?
Right.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that game on Sunday is something that says, okay, this guy, and the playing time's already been rising, the snaps, the route participation, all that stuff. But I'm cautiously optimistic on Gadsden because I like him as a player. You like the offense, but you always have to kind of be a little bit cautious when it's a huge 55-plus pass attempt game. And at best, like at absolute best, he's the third option, and he's probably not the third option. So
he's probably the fourth option now.
Yeah.
It may be 40 attempts a game from now on. Let's go ahead and
they can't run the ball, so that does help.
Right. We're going to go ahead and take our second break. I'm way behind schedule, so we're going to move through the fallers a little bit quicker right after this break.
Sail GP returns to the Iberian Peninsula for an action-packed weekend at the DP World Spain Sail Grand Prix. Don't miss a defining moment of the Rolex Sail GP Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Amazing weekend, guys.
So that was the optimistic portion of the show. This is not. Two of my biggest whiffs of the offseason, Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson, are also the two biggest fallers at quarterback. I don't want to talk about these guys, Adam. I just want you to tell me over under number of career starts for Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson combined.
Like to this point, or the rest of their careers?
Remaining.
Oh man.
Moving forward.
I mean, if I set the line at like 4.5, what would you take?
I think I'd take the over, but I'm the optimist. I don't think Tyrod Taylor has played anything close to actual good football. Had 2 interceptions, and I know they want Fields to be willing to throw more interceptions.
We also don't even know that Fields is not playing on Sunday. Like it could still easily be Justin Fields.
Right. But yeah, huge misses by me. Sorry about that. Thankfully, they were all really cheap, so it didn't cost you too much. 3 running back fallers: Trevion Henderson, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard. We need to take 2 of these. Like Pollard, I think we just all agree on. He's in a committee on the worst offense in football. It's probably just over. But hopefully something happens to change that. I'm not buying low on him. Trevion Henderson, it's been a disaster. Part of it is he's not played as well, I guess, to force his way into more touches. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles don't matter. I've only dropped him to RB13. And people have accused me of being too slow to react, but it is Dynasty. And I did think this guy had great upside coming into the league. Am I holding on? Is it time to just like drop Trevion Henderson outside of the top 30?
Top 30 feels like a stretch. But this has been maybe one of the more puzzling. Again, maybe we get that post bye. Did they already have their bye? I actually don't remember.
No, I think they have a late bye.
They do, yeah. So we get the late post bye when everybody's teams with Trevion already eliminated. This has been one of the more puzzling developments for a highly drafted, highly touted running back. Like, it's not even like he's splitting. Like we would have been a little bit annoyed if it was a split, but we would have expected it and been fine with it. This is just like he's not even playing.
Mm-hmm.
And they get into again, it's like 31-13, but he's not even getting those carries.
There's something he's not doing
right
that Vrabel wants him to do, and he's making a point, and they're winning, so he can continue doing
because
that.
Even if you were the lowest on Trevion Henderson going into the season of anybody in the world, you did not you, just the hypothetical person. There's no way you expected Antonio Gibson to be the RB2 through the first 6 weeks before he went down. So the fact that Gibson tears the ACL, Ramondre can't hold on the football, and it's weird because like Ramondre keeps fumbling over and over, and a lot of coaches, and I give Vrabel credit because a lot of coaches would just be like, all right, you're benched, whatever. But he just keeps talking positively of Ramondre, but then Trevion makes a couple mistakes in pass pro, which is important obviously for a rookie, kick return, special teams, and it's like, yeah, we can't play this guy. And they haven't. Last week was the only game they really ran the ball well all year, and it's the Titans. And if you go back and watch that game, start all the running backs against Titans, they can't tackle.
Right.
I don't know what to do with Trevion because can we just at this point just play him at slot receiver? let us get something, please. Like I don't understand.
No, like I said, I think it just takes patience.
Yeah.
And
Dynasty, like we can relax a little bit, but like, and I fell for it. I took him in like the mid fourth in one of my redraft leagues, and it's the preseason hype. He kept running kicks back, and he kept scoring explosive touchdowns. He was already an explosive player out of Ohio State, and it's just like, yikes.
I'm not dropping him in redraft. I'm not blaming anyone who does.
Yep.
But for dynasty purposes, I'm also not selling low. We got to talk about Saquon Barkley, because I felt like when I updated my rankings this week and had him at RB 15, and this is for dynasty, of course, that seemed a little bit high for a running back who's currently RB 18 for the season and is 28 years old. If you look at his season so far, one game with more than 60 rushing yards, 3 games with double-digit receiving yards. And he's at the age where we would normally be like, oh no, he's hit the wall. But when I put out some Twitter polls yesterday, it seems like everybody else is less concerned about Barkley and Dynasty than I am. Is this a guy that you can, if you're a contender and you've started slow because of Barkley, that you can just trust he's going to turn it around? Is this a buy low opportunity for teams that are trying to contend? Or are you feeling a little nervous?
So you mentioned kind of like the age where we start to get a little bit worried. Yeah. I don't think a lot of this has to do with Saquon himself. We obviously knew he was going to naturally regress after having 2,000 yards and ripping off explosive runs at a ridiculous rate. This year it's been, okay, we can't let Saquon Barkley just rip off 50-yard runs. So last year, his first season in Philadelphia, he saw stack boxes on 20.6% of his carries. This year, it's almost 33%. And he's averaging under 2 yards per carry against stack boxes. Barkley also has a 28% success rate on runs between the tackles. So the interior offensive line run blocking has regressed. And then you add the fact that, okay, we knew the explosive runs were going to take a step back. I didn't think it'd be to this extent. I think he has 1 carry of 20 yards this season, or maybe his longest carry went for 18, I believe. It's been bad. And then, okay, we know what's happening when the Eagles get to the 1 yard line, so that's still in play to limit the overall upside in certain weeks. I'm not worried about Barkley as a player. I'm worried about the fact that this isn't the same successful run offense. It would be nice, Heath, 1 week if every Philadelphia Eagle could just have a good fantasy game, but that just seems like it will not happen ever. Like, they go into Minnesota, the offense plays amazing. AJ Brown, Smitty, all they crush, and right. Barkley has one of the worst games, just did nothing. So I'm worried about the offensive ecosystem in terms of the run blocking more than Barkley, because when I watch him, he still looks good. He still forces missed tackles, but there's been so many plays where they call like these 3rd and 8 draws, and it's like 2nd and 10 runs, and it's just he has nowhere to go.
To your point, another 28-year-old Philadelphia Eagle is on the faller list. AJ Brown. Now it's been a weird season for AJ Brown. Week 1 target. We think, well, he's probably not healthy. The next 5 weeks, he sees at least 8 targets in every game, scores 1 touchdown, doesn't have a huge yardage, has 1 huge yardage game. And people were really concerned. Last week, the targets go back down, but he scores 2 touchdowns, so everything's fine. Devontae Smith, I saw Jacob Gibbs tweeted about this earlier in the week. Devontae Smith's first read target share has spiked this year, and it's basically almost even with AJ Brown's now.
Yeah.
We know this is an offense that at times just goes really run heavy. They've been passing more the last couple of weeks. Am I overreacting to calling AJ Brown a faller?
I don't think so. And the Devonta Smith stuff is interesting because like I'm in the PA area, so I watch the Eagles games a lot. Every time I watch the Eagles, AJ Brown's route concepts just don't work for him. It's like
Goddard's run 12 yards and stop.
Yeah. And there's a lot of routes where he's literally just running like his touchdown and his first touchdown on Sunday. He had Josh Martellus
like that.
Yeah, he had Josh Martellus safety on him. He literally just ran like a almost kind of like a lazy out route.
Yeah.
And Martellus, granted, he was holding him. And AJ Brown kind of just stopped and was like, okay, I'm not getting the ball, plays over. And then he finally worked around and said, oh, I have a safety on me. Let me just run past him. And it was a broken play touchdown. But it's the Devonta Smith stuff. He's getting a lot of those like intermediate routes and a lot of the in-breaking routes. And AJ Brown in Tennessee and then his first year in Philly, it's like there is nobody better off these slant routes in the NFL than AJ Brown. And it killed teams against man coverage against the Eagles. And they ran these RPOs where it was, all right, Jalen Hurts is either handing the ball off or because you have to throw it before the offensive linemen get upfield and get a penalty, it's a quick slant to A.J. Brown. And that was their offense a lot of the time. That's not there anymore. A lot of it's like, okay, A.J. Brown, go make a play if you can. If not, the ball's not going to you. He's had such a weird year where I feel like he's been on either a buy low or sell high segments every week. Every week. Because it was buy low after week 1, it was sell high after week 2, and then my favorite game, honestly, my most encouraging game from him was probably the Giants game where we had like 75 yards and no touchdown, but it was consistently targets. And it was like consistently targets that you can sustain. And then since then, it's just been up and down. I think this is who he is now in this offense. Yeah. I think he's just going to be a boom bust receiver, which is shocking to say. But I think given the construction of this offense, that's kind of who he is at this point. He's more of a boom bust receiver. So you do not feel like if you have a contender, you don't feel like maybe you could buy low on A.J. Brown and he'll be a top 12 wide receiver rest of the season? I would, if I have a contending team and the team with AJ Brown is like fed up, I'm definitely interested in trading for him. I'm just not expecting, like, he's not going to be Jameson Williams boom bust, but I don't think he's going to be consistently, oh, his bad games are 5 for 74. Like, I think his bad games are going to be 3 for 39. 16. Right. Stuff like that, which is weird, but that's just the way the Eagles offense is operating right now. The route concepts for AJ Brown have been very, very difficult to watch for the most part. Let's get to a couple of the lower end risers before we run out of time here. So Woody Marks, for the second time this season, played a ton of snaps. I think he was over 60% snap share, completely dominated rush attempts over Nick Chubb. Caught a 20-yard touchdown pass, 28-yard touchdown pass. Very encouraging. And this is strange because after the first game where Woody Marks played that much, they talked about how he wasn't a workhorse running back and they liked him in a certain role. And he's not actually producing better than Nick Chubb on his runs. He's been woefully inefficient behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. But he's certainly a riser. Is he like Bill on a much lower level? That if somebody's buying into last night's usage, it's probably a good idea to sell? Yeah. Especially because you look at the Texans' 2 real successful games on offense this season against Baltimore's depleted defense and then a home game against Tennessee. Outside of that, this offense has been putrid. Maybe the only benefit about Woody Marks being in this offense is that the offensive line is so bad that CJ Stroud just has to get it out of his hands immediately. And that's where Woody Marks can come in. And like, we haven't thought about him because he hasn't been playing. Joe Mixon might come back at some point this year. Probably not. But like, what happens after that? Yeah, I would. It's not even like you're really selling high because he really has only one game that's been like, whoa. Right. But this is a situation as well, an example where I would look to entertain offers, especially because the offense is just so bad. I don't think this run game gets going ever this year. You're really hoping on him getting 10 carries a game and maybe getting like 40 yards and then catching 4 or 5 passes. And maybe he gets more targets with Nico missing a couple games, or maybe Nico only missed 1 game. Mm-hmm. He had the concussion late last night. I do think, like, the one thing I would say is I don't think the Texans are going into 2026 with Woody Marks as their starting running back. No, I would be literally stunned if that. His value is probably whatever you get out of him this year, and then maybe a pass catching back after that. One more riser from last night, and really from the week before when he caught a 45-yard touchdown and people started chanting MVP for him, or at least he thought. Tez Johnson. 9 targets in the loss to the Lions. His playing time's been increasing. Now Mike Evans is possibly out for the year. Chris Godwin probably still not back. Very productive player in college. Also very light player. I'm getting some Tank Dell vibes. Just because, like, a super exciting guy, may have a couple of splash weeks coming up. Yeah, I think they're different players though. Like Tank Dell, like the thing I loved about Tank Dell coming out was he was so small, but he was like the best receiver in that class against press coverage because his footwork was so good. And then, yeah, I mean, the frame was a concern, but his injury like 2 years ago was just so random and fluky and unfortunate. But
Well, I mean, I think you could say that with both of them.
yeah,
Both of the injuries, his leg just kind of got destroyed.
yep. And then the one was where he was blocking and
Yes.
he got hit from behind while he was blocking up front. So really fluky stuff. But yeah, Tez, I'm kind of in because I'm not usually. A lot of times I like to go with like in situations the last couple weeks where we're looking to maybe stream these Tampa Bay wide receivers. I kind of like, Sterling Shepard, he's reliable. He played college with Baker. No, Tez has so much more juice. His touchdown, like really, really underrated good move where he knows somebody's behind him and just does like a little mini hurdle so he can't grab his legs and then walks into the end zone. He also could have had a better day. A couple targets where Baker once again airmailed him. The only thing I'm not even worried about Godwin at this point because I don't think he plays this week. Then they have their bye. Then maybe he's back, but I don't know what he has left to really hurt Tez. They're going to use 3 receivers a lot. It really comes down to what's Jalen McMillan doing when he comes back.
And
which
is
still,
Jalen McMillan coming back?
I was going to say, which we still don't know because it's
Right.
a serious injury. But yeah, I think Tez needs to be a massive riser. And Heath, we might be looking at this, week 14, week 15, and the top 2 wide receivers in this team are Igbuka and Tez Johnson, which we did not. I mean, some people were head scratching the Igbuka selection, let alone Tez Johnson.
Right. No, it's the Bucks love those productive power 4 players who have bad testing days. And that's what
I just meant strictly because of the receivers they already had, right? They took McMillan last year. They, Mike Evans, Godwin, but I mean, they continue to draft really well. And now the opportunity for those guys is just, it feels like every week we can't get this. We obviously won't get it fully healthy with Evans out, but just every week it's like, okay, this receiver's coming back. I can't wait to see what Baker looks like with all 3 of these guys. All 4 of these guys, it's just not happening.
Awesome stuff as always, Adam. Thank you to Aaron for making everything work behind the scenes. Thank you to everybody who was active in the chat and everybody listening to the podcast. We will talk to you next Tuesday.